Welcome back, guys. Okay, today I will be working on Black Panther. I will be working on Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. Um, if you haven't heard already, he recently just died of stage 3 cancer, colon cancer to be exact. And this is very shocking news. Again, this year has just been really crazy in terms of all the people that's you know famous people that died this year. Not including all the non-famous people who died. But you know, this year's just been crazy with all the deaths, and not to mention coronavirus. I really didn't want to mention that because YouTube algorithm and all the other political bull crap that's going on right now. It's just crazy. But recently, it's sad because they just made one Black Panther movie, and they was working on the second one, and they didn't get a chance to make uh, the second Black Panther movie. And to me, that's really sad. Anyway, in terms of the design of Black Panther, I really like the design. So, not to mention the actor is pretty good, But in terms of the design, in terms of the art wise of the design, I really always liked the old design, the original from the original comics, and the new design that's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm gonna do kind of a combination of both versions in the next drawing. But remind you, this drawing is not going to be like a completed type of piece. It's going to be more like practice, dynamic posing, like a dynamic pose kind of sketch. So that's the whole objective of this video, is showing you guys how to do a dynamic pose. I mean, you could Google this and you see a lot of different references online of how to draw a dynamic pose. But I'm just going to walk you through the basic idea of how I draw a dynamic pose. All right. Okay. All right. Just give me 1 second. Now I'm going to start with a pencil. Make sure this is straight. This is live, so just bear with me for a second while I get this ready. Okay. Alright, now that I have a sharpened pencil, let's get started. Okay, so for this dynamic pose, I will be doing a front view, and okay, I kind of like this pose. So with this particular dynamic pose, he's going to be crouching down, so he's not going to be too tall. So if we you're just plotting it out, something like that. His head is going to be somewhere here. The bottom of his feet is going to be somewhere right there. So it's going to be sort of like a very, it's going to be a small kind of a sketch. So this is just me trying to get the proportions where the midway point is going to be, somewhere right there. That is where the midway point is going to be. Now, when you draw in a dynamic pose, sometimes you gotta visualize where the spine is going to be. So let's say, because the spine tells you what direction or what kind of motion uh, the body is doing. You know what? You know, because like no matter what motion you're making or what direction your body's going, you always go in the direction of where the spine is. So let's say the spine is sort of doing like that kind of motion, you know. So then if the head is sort of like, let's say the head is sort of like that, sort of, you know, sort of something like this. You know, and then he's looking down, so where you draw the cross is going to be really low. And let's say that's something like that. So his body's going in to the lower left hand side. And then right here you just draw like, okay, so I know that the top of his hand is going to be somewhere here, or maybe going in that direction like that. And then the rest of his arm, let's just say, his hand is going back into space, into perspective, sort of like this. And his arm comes down like that. And his hand is doing something like this. So his hand is going in this direction. Right now I'm just thinking of shapes. How I want to draw this. So something like that. And then his right arm is sort of like foreshortening, so it's going to be something like that. Simple shape, something like that. Hopefully you guys can see this clearly. And then his right shoulders is going up. And then this is, all of this is going to be bicep. And the rest of this is his arm like this. And then this connects to his chest. Again, sort of like that. This arm is going to be going into that arm, that forearm. Sort of like that. And then since he's in a dynamic pose, like say that his feet is down here. Like that is his feet. Remember, I'm not really thinking too much on details. So just shapes. So now that his thigh is really high up. So sort of like that. Get to draw his back. And his kneecaps. It's going to be like that. Now I have the direction of where his feet is going to go. So sort of like this. So sort of like that. And then his other leg is in the background. It's going to be sort of like this. You don't want to draw it too, where I draw this line, you also have to pay attention to how far out you're going, because you don't want to go past this particular arm, because then it's not gonna be in proportion. Guys, if you just joined me, just join the chat. Hello, Storm. I'm drawing a dynamic pose of Black Panther. Um, this is just gonna be like a tutorial type of drawing, so it's really showing you my thought process and how to draw a dynamic comic booky type of drawing. If you haven't heard, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, he just died, so I decided to do sort of like this training drawing today as a sort of like a small, tiny little tribute to Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther. So yeah, so this is very a basic type of drawing, and I'm drawing from beginning to end and showing you guys my steps and how I do this dynamic pose, comic book pose of Black Panther. No problem, Storm. I appreciate you stopping by on the drawing. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, this is one of my live streams. There will be an edited version of this video that you could watch and, play back later after the live stream is over. The edited video is probably going to be up tomorrow or the day after, so that way I'll go in more detail on how this drawing is made. But thank you for stopping by. No problem. No problem, Storm. Thank you. I appreciate it. Alright, so let's just switch up the music a little bit. I don't know what music I should go with, but let's try this one. Okay, I guess I'll go with that. Alright, so now I'm drawing the right leg and it's in the background. So since it's in the background, it's going to be smaller. It's going to be smaller than the foreground leg. Whatever is closest to you, is always whatever's closest to the viewer, the camera, is always going to be bigger than other objects in the picture plane. So you have to pretend that your eye is a camera. So this is like the plane right here. This is like the bottom of the plane, and this is like the top. So whatever is closest to you, which is his left leg, is going to be a lot bigger than his other body parts because that's closer to the camera, if that makes sense. So since the right leg is further away from the camera, it's going to be a lot smaller. So again, I'm thinking of like, okay, this is a basic shape of like a cylinder, sort of like that. So think of it as a cylinder and then just go back up like that. So if you break it down to simple shapes without even drawing any muscles, this is pretty much a cylinder. That leg, sort of just like a simple tube. And then the other leg is the same thing. So it's like a smaller cylinder under it, but it's overlapping. So if you think of the other one, sort of like this, it's just going to be another cylinder like that. And then his feet actually goes down and in, sort of like that. Just like that. And then all I have to do is go over it again and add more detail. So since it's a cylinder, on top of the cylinder, add more detail on top. So sort of like that. And all I'm doing is overlapping lines to draw muscles. The muscles are sort of like football shaped, like that. Same thing with the calf muscle. It's gonna go in like this. Sort of like that, if that makes sense. So now I'm gonna go and start drawing the biceps. So now the bicep, like can make it a little bit smaller because I think it's a little bit too big. So sort of like that. Think of the bicep as a football. This top bicep right here. So I'm just drawing the shape of a football. You see? Now this is a shape. This is another like cylinder-like shape. So now if you think of it in 3 dimensions, remember it's like football. If you draw a line going across like that, you can see that it's pretty much just a football on top of another shape. You see that? That's how I did the bicep. Same thing with over here in his forearm and his shoulder. So I'll just go like this. Just like that. Now let me just wanted to change the music a little bit. Alright, so for the hands, which is up here, what I like to do, because hands is really difficult, I like to just break it down into shapes the same way I did with the rest of the body. So let's say if I go over here, let's say that the hand is foreshortened, and let's say if we just break it up into like a box like this. If you think of everything like a cube, like shapes, this box right here can be his hand. And then remember there's like 4 fingers, so again, you break it up into boxes. Like so. This could be one of his fingers. Another box. This is another finger. Another box. You see? That's another finger overlapping the palm. Like, so if you look at it in 3 dimensions, any kind of shape that any kind of body part that you want to draw, just think of it as shapes and box cylinders like that. So that's how I break it up and draw the hand. Now you're gonna have to know how things look when it's foreshortening, when it's coming towards you like this, or when it's turned to the side or anything like that. Once you know that, you can pretty much draw anything that you want to draw. Now, so now the top hand, again, is like a cylinder or a box. The middle hand, just like that. Another hand, finger, sorry. And the pinky over here. And then the thumb could be coming out like that. Into the palm. Just like that. And without even doing much, you see I already have a hand and a forearm. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the other hand. This hand is very interesting because this one is sort of bent. So I got to make sure I kind of convey that. And the forearm comes out like so. So now this kind of looks a little bit weird. So I got to go back in and edit this. The foreshortening here, I think this arm needs to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to erase this whole arm like so. Really look and see what this is doing. So this is going into that muscle. This comes over like so. So forearm starts right here. So it's a little bit wider. Again, simple shapes. Just gonna do something like that. It's a little bit lower. Can go out like that. Just like that. So then I just break this apart. Another square or another cylinder right there. One more. And then one more for over here. And you can already see that's his left arm right there. Just like that. So now I have the overall shape done. So now I'm going to go back in. This is where you just either look at reference, like muscle reference, to really get the muscles down, or you could just draw everything out of your imagination. So what I plan to do is do a little bit of both. I'm gonna do both. So hold on, let me get something else. All right, so now at this point I can either look up references for Black Panther, and right now I just want to get a sense of how, depending on which version that I'm drawing of Black Panther, I just want to get a sense of like his suit. And it never hurts to look at any kind of references. So I'm gonna start with his face. His eyes are gonna be, I gotta be really careful. So I'm gonna erase this like so, just lightly, like that. And then I know that he's always frowning, so it's gonna be something like that. And this is where the brow is gonna be. So it was like that. And then I go back in, do the same for up here. And I know that's where his eyes are gonna be. Just like that. And then I go back down. That's sort of like his face. Another design that goes up this way. And then now from here I just go in. I mean, it depends on which version that I'm drawing. I'm trying to do like a combination of the Marvel version and the old school, so it's sort of gonna be small ears, like that. mind you, if it doesn't look right to me, then I'll just go back and make it a little bit bigger. Something like that. I actually like the simpler version, so I'm gonna leave that just like that. And then I'm gonna come back in here and fix his mouth. So it's sort of like that. Sort of like that. If that makes sense. I didn't even draw his claws yet, but I'm gonna get to that. So his claws are like sort of like that. So we have another claw. Sort of like that. So now I got his claws down. Even though I feel like maybe his right arm is a little bit too much, but sort of like that. Draw this. I'll be doing this muscle's wrapping around this way. Right now I'm just drawing in the muscles at this point. If you just joining me, I am drawing a dynamic pose with Black Panther, and I'm doing a combination of the old school and the new school Black Panther. So he's gonna definitely have a sort of like a cape, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna draw it. But I might do something like really small, maybe like that. Maybe something like that. Show the cape. All right. Since I drew this, he could sort of be like on. Since his left leg is in the foreground, this could sort of like him being on like maybe like some kind of rock or some kind of not a mountain, but like some kind of a boulder he could be on top of, like that. And again, I'm just thinking about simple shapes to draw the boulder, overlapping each other, like that. Maybe another rock or some kind of gravels over here. And this is sort of like the background. colors in the background. And to give the illusion of space, I'm changing the size of each of the rocks. So that way it looks three-dimensional, you know. Okay, I have some other people who's joined the chat. These are, let's see. P was here. Thank you for joining me, P. I appreciate it. If you're just joining, I'm drawing Black Panther. I'm doing a dynamic pose. You know, using muscle references and all kinds of stuff on the internet, Black Panther references and stuff like that, to be able to draw this. Yeah, Sam Art Studio. It's really sad that Chadwick died. I just figured I'd just do a simple dynamic pose that I can show everyone, and so they can learn how to do dynamic poses with like comic book dynamic poses. So yeah. But thank you for joining. This is going to be a quick, simple type of drawing that really shows how to do dynamic posing with comic book like characters. The full version or the edited version of this video will go up a little bit later. Alright, so now this is the old school T'Challa or Black Panther. He doesn't really have like too much armor on. It's sort of like just a suit. So I'm literally just going to draw the basic version. Just like that. I kind of want to draw a little bit of muscle here, a little bit of muscle there. When it comes to muscles, I'm just visualizing where the tension is going to be. So wherever the tension is going to be, that's where I'm going to draw a little bit more definition. So it's definitely going to be in his left leg. Maybe a little bit right there. Sort of drawing a little bit of his panther feet. So something like, I don't want to make it look like a claw or anything like that, but I just want to sort of sometimes I wish I have the undo button when drawing analog, so that way you can, like, if you feel like you just made a mistake, you could just undo what you just did. All the time I wish I had an undo button. So now his sort of drawing like the kneecaps, just putting a little indentation that, okay, that's the kneecap up here. And then there's also muscles that's in his thigh that I'm drawing right there. Just like that. And what I might do is also draw a little bit of grass. Or my version of grass. more rocks over here. Some more. He's like in the African, not necessarily a jungle, but like the Pride lands, sort of. So there's gonna be like very little uh, vegetation in this particular area. Maybe there's like one kind of tree, and it's one of those empty trees. I don't know. So very, not much going on. And it's in the background, so not paying too much attention to it. Alright, that's good enough. So now from here, I'm just going to do the basic outline of this character, starting from the head. The head is very important. Now I'm using a very light line weight. Just like that. Not too much detail. Really careful. Just like that. Just like that. Okay, so now that I got that down, going into the shoulders, drawing some of the cape over here. Now, at this point, this is where I start to think about details. So that way I can draw the definition a little bit better. Start thinking about line weight, where the shadows are going to come from. But again, this is a simple type of drawing, so I don't want to go too heavy on shading. More focus on line weight. It's important to know what his muscles are doing, but okay, sort of like that. Just like that. Now for his claws. Looking good. Now I'm just drawing his necklace. Okay, so now this is the other side of this cape. so far so good. Drawing his shoulders. Now I'm gonna come in here and draw a little bit of his chest. Show some definition there. Just like that. A little bit of his abs is going to show here, but not a lot. Looking good, looking good. Remember guys, I'm just doing the line weight, so sort of like the outline. Make sure that I show that this part break off like that. Show that there. I could have just made that round like that, so that way really get the sense that it's foreshortening. Careful with his fingers. Just like that. Okay, that's looking good. I feel like his left hand could be a little bit better, but it's good the way it is. So now I'm going to go into this kneecap. I don't want to get too messy with this. In this particular drawing, I want to leave it like a sketch. So this particular drawing, I'm not going to render it out too much. I want to keep it basic, simple, very sketchy. If you guys need to see a little bit better, let me zoom in just a little bit. See how that looks? Yep, that's a lot better. Now you can see that a little bit better. So then now draw this quadriceps, superhero quads. Some muscle going up in there like that. More indentation of a kneecap right there. Now draw the other quads. Like so. Muscle bending and folding into each other. Like so. Just like that. I think that came out pretty decent. Now I'm just gonna go in here, draw some indentation. Remember, this is in the background, so it's not gonna get that much detail. Draw some grass indentation there. Like that. Okay. Now for the foreground rocks. Anything that's in the foreground I will go over again, just to show some indentation. Alright. Some of the background. I'm using a 0-1, which is working very well for me. So now I'm going to draw the cape. Just like that. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the rest of the background. Simple line going across. Just like that. Maybe another rock here. Instead of this big ass tree, I'm just going to draw a small one. Just like that. Small tree. Some rocks over here. Another rock in the foreground. Now, in terms of this design, again, I'm doing a combination of the Marvel design and the one from the movie. So now that I'm done, have all the basics in, I'm confident that I can just erase what I'm not going to be using. So get rid of all of this, even a demonstration of the hand. Get rid of all of this. So far, I'm very, very happy how this came out. It's not very detailed. I mean, it kind of is, but in terms of what I wanted to do and the references I've been using and what I wanted to convey in this particular exercise, I think it came across well. Okay, so now that I have the basics down, I'm not sure if I want to do any kind of anything that's too much. I kind of want to keep this drawing simple, so I'm not sure if I want to do too much shadowing, but I think I am gonna add a good amount of shadow. So I'll say this is stage 1 is done pretty much. Now I'm going to start with stage 2, which is heavier line weight, where I'm thinking about where the light is coming from, which is coming from the top. So the bottom, everything on the bottom is going to have all the shadows. So I just noticed that his arm is less going like his arm looks kind of weird, but it's too late now to fix that. His arm is going more to the left instead of foreshortening behind this. That's where his bicep is too long, but it's too late to like really fix that. I could probably try to fix it, but it's a little bit too late. So what I'm gonna do now is get a darker. Okay, that's the brush I'm gonna use today. What I'm gonna do is get a thicker line, and wherever I know the shadows are gonna be, that is where I'm gonna break up this line weight. Over here is going to have some line weight. All this is going to be in shadow. Some very light hatching right there, just like that. There's gonna be some line in here, that leg, just like that. So now I get a sense that leg is planted on something, you know, like his leg is not just floating. I'm thinking about where that light is going to be. sort of like that. Since his arm is away from this chest, since this chest and this arm is away from the shadow, away from the sun, all of this is going to be heavy on the line weight. Until we get right back up there. Sort of like that. Same thing with this. Sort of like that. Same thing for this rock. Just like that. For this drawing, I'm doing very simple cross hatching, going in one direction. Very simple. Well, this is going to be two directions, but I want to really get a sense that he's on something. Just like that. And then even up in here, where his toes are. Under his leg. Maybe some right here. Nothing too crazy. Some under here. I don't want this to become a hatching piece. Some under his bicep. Maybe some on his bicep. Some under here. Now, there's gonna be some, oh, okay, I'm about to use the brush. Almost made a boo-boo right there. Back to the light, 0, 1. And in here, I'm just gonna come in here and do that. Same thing's gonna be for under here. All of this is gonna be in shadow. So it's gonna be like that. Line weight under here to show shadow. Showing shadow. Some more shadow under here. Shadow under there. Like that. For this, I might even want to, let me see what I'm going to do. something. So all of this in shadow. Maybe making it bigger. Sort of. Something like that. And then put all of this in shadow. Maybe even this part of his chest. All of that is in shadow. Same thing with this side. And this part I'm going to use a little bit of brush. A little bit. Something like that. So anywhere where I feel like there's heavy shadow, I just block it out. So anywhere up here, like that. Maybe up in here, like so. Just like that. Maybe even up, under, and in here. Like that. Just like that. Like that. I could do something like put this whole bottom feet in shadow. Something like this. Something like that. something like that. So that whole bottom feet is in shadow. And then I can go back in and do maybe some cross hatching here. Very light cross hatching. Just like that. And you know, that looks good to me. Don't feel like I have to do much anymore. That's pretty much it. That is the basis of what I'm going to do so far right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on how to draw Black Panther in a dynamic pose. I will be having more for you guys a little later on this week, but look out for the edited version of this drawing. I will have a little background and a little tribute to Chadwick Boseman, the actor who just passed away and who played Black Panther. So guys, look forward to that. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when I go live or when I post a new video. Catch you guys and girls later, and I hope you guys enjoy your evening or your morning or your night whenever you watch this, and I check you guys and girls later. Midori out.